Hey guys, welcome back. With this video, we are starting a new series, Java Concurrency. In this series, we will cover everything related to Java threads and Java concurrency. Before we deep dive into Java multithreading and concurrency, I think it's important to cover the fundamentals. So the agenda of this video is to basically cover the fundamental concepts related to multitasking, multithreading, etc. And then we will see what is a thread, how does it get executed by a CPU. We will also discuss the benefits and challenges with multithreading and threads in general. So without further ado, let's get started. Before we cover threads and multithreading, let's start with a very simple scenario, very basic scenario where we have a single core CPU and there is a single task. Here task represents a process, it could be an application. So we have a single core CPU and we have a single task. Because CPU has a single core, so at a time it can run only a single task. So here as you can see, this CPU has a single core. That means it will only execute one task at a time. And even in this task, the task will be executed from start to finish in a sequence, you can say in a line. So that means even for a single task, it will execute or it will continue with one activity at a time. So we have a single task which is kind of executing linearly by a single core CPU. Then we have the multitasking model, in which even if the CPU has a single core, it can execute multiple tasks, although not at the same time, but in the interleaving model. So here you can see there are two tasks, T1 and T2, and there is a single core CPU. But if you notice the line of execution, here the CPU core is executing T1, so T2 has to wait. But as soon as T2 gets a chance, it will start executing T2, and in this case, T1 will not execute. And similarly, the CPU core can execute multiple tasks at any given point of time. So this is multitasking, where CPU core is executing or running multiple tasks at a given point of time. So here the multiple tasks also represent different processes and different applications. We are using the term task here. So this is called multitasking, where CPU can run or execute multiple tasks at a given point of time. If there is a single core, then of course it will be able to run only one task at a time. Let's move on. And now we will talk about multithreading. So what happens without the multithreading? Consider there is a task that is being executed by the CPU. Now, even for that single task, CPU will do one job at a time. So for example, let's say we talk about the video player. So a video player has to do many things in order to play the video. It has to encode the video. It may need to encode the audio as well. It may need to sync the subtitles. So without the multi-threading, a given task can do one job at a time, even if it gets a chance to run on the CPU. Now, what multi-threading allows a task to do, it allows us to split the task into different threads. And these threads are independent to each other. So for example, if we talk about the same video player, in that case, the application or the process can split itself into different threads. Maybe one thread is responsible for syncing the subtitles. Another thread is responsible for encoding the audio. And maybe there is another thread which is just focusing on the video. So the ability of a task to split itself into multiple threads, and these threads are different threads of execution, is called multi-threading. So with the help of multi-threading, when a task is scheduled on the CPU by the CPU, then if you notice, instead of running the task as a unit, it is actually executing different threads of that process. So now if we talk about the same task, it has three threads, T1, T2 and T3. And if you notice the line of execution, the CPU core is now executing different threads at different times as it gets the chance. So in this case, suppose there are three threads, T1, T2 and T3, and there is a single core. So that means same as the task, it cannot execute more than one threads at a time. So here if we talk about the line of execution again, notice here T2 is getting executed by the single core. And in that case, T1 and T3 will wait. Then after some time, the core will move the T2 to a different state in order to pick another thread. And so T1 gets a chance to complete its execution. Now this process or this thing is called context switching, because in this case, the core is switching the threads, different threads. Now what will happen when context switching happens from T2 to T1, the state of T2 will be saved somewhere and the state of T1 will be restored, because T1 now has to execute. So this is all handled by the CPU. This is called context switching. So here T1 is getting executed and then T2 again gets a chance. So this is again a context switch. Then after some time T3 also gets a chance. So this is again a context switch. In this case, the state of T2 will be stored and state of T3 will be restored. So this is how multiple threads run on a single core CPU or on a multi-core CPU. The important thing to understand here is the ability of splitting a single task into different threads of execution. The ability of a task to run different threads is called multithreading. Multitasking is when we have multiple tasks, different processes running on the CPU or getting scheduled on the CPU. Multithreading is specific to a single task where a single task has different threads. All right. Next, we will talk about two very important terms, concurrency and parallelism. So concurrency is the ability of a system to handle or to run multiple tasks, which is often done through the interleaving of their executions. What that means is, suppose there is a single core CPU, and because a single core can only execute one task or one thread at a time, so in order to run multiple tasks or multiple threads, there will be context switching. It has to perform the context switch between different tasks. So if we go back to the previous slide, here we can see there are 3 threads of a single task and there is a single core CPU, but still it is able to run all the threads, although not simultaneously at the same time, but you can see the interleaving of their executions here. Here T2 is getting executed, then T1, then T2, then T3, then again T1 and T3. So this is called concurrency. All right. When the operating system runs multiple applications by quickly switching between them, this is called concurrency. Parallelism is different because in parallelism, there are multiple CPU cores and each CPU core is running a different task. So we have a true simultaneous execution of multiple tasks because we have different cores, so they can all run in parallel. As an example, there is, let's say, a data processing task which has been split into multiple threads probably, and each thread is performing the calculation simultaneously on different cores. So this is called parallelism. So in concurrency, different tasks or different threads may or may not execute at the same time depending on the cores, depending on the number of cores, but they are all running and they are all making progress. While in parallelism, because there are multiple CPU cores, so they can run simultaneously, they can run parallelly. Let's now talk about the thread. So a thread is a unit of execution within a process. We know a task can split itself into different threads. So this is a unit of execution within a single task or within a single process. Now, when a task has multiple threads, each thread is independent in a sense that it is scheduled on a CPU independently. So each thread is basically a thread of execution which will be scheduled by the CPU. So when it gets a chance, it will do its job and then another thread will be picked up. Threads are lightweight because if we talk about the process, a process consumes more memory. It has to maintain more data structures. But in case of thread, all the threads belong to a particular task. So they share some of the data structures. They only need a certain degree of isolation. So threads are lightweight. And as I said, each thread is lightweight, has some of its own data structures and independently gets scheduled on a CPU. So each thread has its own register set, its own program counter, its own stack, and some portion on the memory. All right. Now let's talk about what happens when a thread runs. How does it get executed? But before we start, please note this is a very simplistic model, a very basic scenario. In no way it covers all the aspects of thread scheduling or how a process gets executed by the CPU. So we will only touch the basics and some important things in order to understand the threads or process in general. So what happens when we run any application, all right, it starts a new process. Or we can also call this task. In case of multitasking, we are talking about this process only. So when the CPU or the operating system starts a new process, it creates something called process control block. This is also known as PCB, process control block. And similarly, when a single process or when a particular process creates thread, then for each thread, the operating system creates another data structure which is called thread control block. This is also known as TCB. Now here we are not discussing any particular operating system, let's say Unix or Windows. It could vary, certain details could vary, but the fundamentals generally remain the same. So when we execute a process, the operating system creates different data structures related to different processes. And here we have process control block and thread control block. Process control block is for processes and thread control block is for different threads. All right. Now, what kind of information can we find in the PCB or in the TCB? So for example, we have the process ID, or in case of thread, TID, which is thread ID. Now this information is stored in the corresponding PCB or TCB. Then we also have the state of the process and the state of thread. We also have something called program counter, which tells exactly what line was getting executed or what is the next line of code which needs to be executed. So we have the program counter. Then we also have the contents of CPU registers. All right. And in case of threads, we have stack pointer, which is stored in TCB, which is thread control block. So when we execute a process, the operating system will create the PCB and TCB. Then in these data structures, it maintains this set of information along with others. Then operating system also has something called process table and thread table. How it is implemented in a particular operating system is not a concern. It doesn't matter for our discussion. The important thing is here we are talking about certain bits and pieces related to the process and thread execution. So operating system has different data structures like PCB, TCB. Then there are two more, process table and thread table. Process table, you can consider these tables as, for example, hash maps or hash tables, okay, which maintain key and value pairs. So for example, in process table, the key could be PID, and in case of thread table, it could be TID. And then it can store the PCB of a particular process, and similarly, thread table could store the TCB. So whenever a process or thread is getting scheduled or is getting executed, it will manipulate the process table and the corresponding PCBs and TCBs. These data structures helps the operating system in management and context switching. So for example, when a task is getting context switched or when the CPU is switching between different threads, the information required to store or to restore will be picked from corresponding PCBs and TCBs. So for example, there was a thread T1 which the CPU core or the operating system was running. Then comes another thread T2. So CPU has to perform the context switching. In this case, what CPU can do or what operating system can do, it will do a lookup in the thread table because it knows the thread ID, and there it will find the TCB, the corresponding thread control block, which has all this information. All right. So before it performs the context switching, it will update the TCB for thread T1, and then it will do another lookup for thread T2 by the ID of thread T2. It will find the corresponding TCB and it will start the execution of thread T2. Now, when the context switching happens again, CPU will again do the lookup for T1 in the thread table. It will find the TCB and it can resume the execution because it has all the details, these many, in the corresponding thread control block. So that's how generally a process or a thread gets executed by operating system. As you can see, we have not covered the exact implementation or the mechanism how a process gets executed by CPU because it's too low level and somewhat difficult to cover each and everything. But we have covered some of the basic things so that we have an idea what happens when a process or when a thread gets executed. Let's move on and try to understand why multithreading. What benefits do we get from threads? So when we talk about threads, as we saw, thread is a separate execution, separate thread of execution within a single process, and we talked about how it is lightweight as compared to the process. So when we have multiple threads within the same task, there is a possibility that in case of multiple CPU cores, we can run multiple threads on different CPU cores at a given point of time. So here we are talking about parallelism. So when we are able to split a given task into multiple threads and when we can run those multiple threads in parallel on different CPU cores, it means we are able to do more work in the same unit of time, which increases the throughput of the application. And it also makes applications more responsive because there are different threads of execution and they all are running on CPU whenever they get a chance. So we are doing more things in parallel, which of course will increase the throughput and the responsiveness of the system. Threads also allow us to use the system resources efficiently. And this is because a process represents a complete application, the application that a user is running. So each process must maintain the complete process structure, which includes many data structures on the operating system level. It may also need to, let's say, manage the virtual memory space or kernel state or so on and so forth. So the cost of creating and maintaining the amount of memory or the amount of state that is needed to basically represent a task makes it more expensive as compared to threads which are lightweight. So when we are using threads, we are able to use the system resources more efficiently by consuming less amount of memory. And because multiple threads of a given process share some of the data structures, so they can communicate to each other easily as compared to the process to process communication, which has to happen on the operating system or the kernel level. Now, that being said, it doesn't mean that multi-threading is a silver bullet which can solve all the problems. It also introduces many complicated problems into the software development process or into the software execution. So when we have multiple threads involved, we know multiple threads share some of the data structures of the underlying process. So we need to think about the thread safety. We want all the thread executions to be consistent. What happens when one thread changes something on which another thread is dependent? So if it is not implemented carefully, it can cause serious problems for the business. So thread safety is a very big problem when we talk about the multi-threading. And similarly, multi-threaded programs are difficult to develop because we need to think about a lot of things. And that's not it. Multi-threaded programs are very difficult to debug because we have no control how a thread will be scheduled by the CPU. Even on a single machine, if we rerun the same application, there is no guarantee that threads will be executed and scheduled in a sequence or in a similar fashion. So it all depends on the runtime environment, how multiple threads and multiple tasks are getting scheduled on the CPU, how operating system is managing different things. So this is very difficult to debug. Let's say if there is a concurrency bug in the code, it will be very difficult to debug. Although there are different ways, different guidelines, different tools that can help, but in general, multi-threaded programs are very difficult to debug. And also, of course, the resource consumption. So when we have a single process, it requires that much amount of memory, for example. But when we have different threads, each thread requires, although they're lightweight, but still they require some amount of memory, some different data structures individual to different threads. So we have the resource consumption. All in all, when we develop a multi-threaded program, we need to think about the resource consumption. We also need to think about the thread safety. So far, we have only covered the basics, the fundamentals, which does not belong to any programming language. These are general concepts, generic concepts, which apply to any high-level programming language. So I hope it gives you a basic idea of things. What is a process? What is multitasking? What is concurrency, parallelism, and threads? And I hope it will make you ready for the next video in which we will start Java threads. So see you in the next video. Thanks for watching.